Musst du das Slide vorher wegnehmen?
Welcome all to today's ASRG-WORLD webinar. We have the 1st of July 2021 and we are streaming from Stuttgart in Germany. Thank you for being with us. My name is Sven Schran and I'm coordinating with ASRG the European locations. The Automotive Security Research Group is now nearly 4 years old and we are a non-profit organization, which provides a platform for the automotive security industry, as well as related academics or organizations to share knowledge, build powerful networks and valuable collaborations. This community is for you and it is based on volunteer support. If you want to know more details about ASRG, please check out our website at www.asrg.io. Maybe you have an idea for a nice project and look for partners to realize it. You would like to start your own location, you have an idea about a service ASRG could provide, or you simply know a great organization which could partner with ASRG. We are open to hear each of your ideas and would like to discuss how ASRG can support it. Don't hesitate and get in touch with us. You quickly can send us an email with your thoughts to hello@asrg.io. So, this is now enough from my side, and I don't want to keep you tortured anymore because I am sure you are waiting very curiously for our main presentation. Like every time, in case you have questions during the presentation, please write it into the chat window. After the session, we will have some more minutes for questions and answers. And now it's my pleasure to welcome Philipp Veronesi, Managing Director, and Julia Drees, Director, People and Organization at CYRES Consulting. Today, they will present to us the topic Cybersecurity Competency-Based ACP Framework. And now I would like to hand over to Philipp and Julia. The virtual stage is yours.
Thank you, Sven, for the short introduction. My name is Philipp Veronesi. I founded CYRES 3 years ago, focusing on cybersecurity. And today we want to show you what this ACP framework is. So the Automotive Cybersecurity Professional framework. Together with me today, also Julia. You want to say a few words about yourself?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm also happy to introduce to you the framework today. My name is Julia Drees and I'm with CYRES since almost the beginning. So I already saw a lot of things happening here, a lot of people joining, and now we developed a next exciting topic in our academy to focus on cybersecurity knowledge and also on a competency model in the terms of cybersecurity in automotive industry. Yeah, so let's go in media res.
Yeah, and let's start with this ACP framework. So what was the first idea? So why do we start with framework and training? So the missing knowledge, missing competencies, what are the consequences of these missing cybersecurity competencies? And yeah, we've seen a lot of headlines the last years. A few years ago, everyone will remember this Jeep hack with this almost 1.4 million cars recalled by Fiat Chrysler. So a lot of money to fix this issue. And yeah, fortunately, was any killed people on the street because of a hack. And we hope that, finger crossed, that we will stay like this. But you can see clearly that's a big issue. And that's, yeah, it goes back to basically missing knowledge to close and fill those gaps.
Yeah, and also to increasing number of hackers that always try to find any lags in the system. And so we have to improve the cybersecurity in all different kinds of, And the problem is also that there are a lot of challenges, so it could be so easy, but maybe you want to talk about the challenges in the industry at the moment.
Yeah, so I would say in the future, or also currently, we have basically three main challenges. I would say one thing is we have always more and more complex systems in the automotive industry. And the second thing is, I would say, the new trends that we experience in the automotive industry. And of course, the upcoming and already enforced regulations and the upcoming standard are the main driver, I would say, and the main challenges in automotive cybersecurity.
Okay, so interesting. Maybe you go through the 3 different topics and explain each of them a little bit deeper.
Yeah, let's dive in a little bit more here. So if we think about complexity in the automotive ecosystem, we have a lot of ECUs in the cars and a lot of functionality in the car. We want to give a lot of different use cases and help the driver with many things. This increases complexity a lot. So the automotive industry is trying to reduce this complexity by not using over 100 ECUs anymore, but trying to reduce to high performance ECUs to reduce the number of hardware that we have in the car. But still we have a lot of complexity, and we're working now with one big OEM and on a project with a huge complex ECU where the supplier is collecting and integrating modules of over 30 Tier 2 suppliers just to put together all the functionalities, and it's a very big issue also with all the security functionality on it. So complexity is for sure one of the biggest challenges. And what are the crucial trends, let's say, impacting the automotive industry? So on one side, we have this autonomous driving. So everyone is talking about ADAS, AD systems. So with autonomous driving, of course, you have cars driving themselves. And if you hack those cars, you will basically be able to take over. So that's a very huge part. Then, of course, the shared mobility. Shared mobility means also to enhance the access systems so that you can access the cars via the platforms. Everyone that used Car2Go or 6Share or Drive Now knows that you can unlock the car basically with your smartphone. So you need a mobile device key and remote unlocking and locking systems. So that's adding more complexity in these trends, let's say, bringing more issues in the cars. Then, of course, the connectivity and digitalization in general, also in the cars. You want to be connected, download some services, and you want to have all those kind of things. And of course, this brings more, let's say, opens the system more to some vulnerabilities and hacks. And fourth, I would say here, electrical vehicles. Of course, you have also here a lot of developments in this direction where you have charging stations and kind of automatic charging stations. So these are I would say, the 4 key trends impacting the automotive industry in the future. Okay,
so last but not least, standards and regulations. I think everybody already heard about the ISO 21434 and the UN regulation. Just give us some more details about this.
Yeah, sure. So I would say, also the regulations are, especially in the field of knowledge management and competence management, demanding competence and knowledge. So in the ISO, there are a few, let's say, requirements demanding strong cybersecurity culture, for example, also demanding an evidence of this competence management, the awareness and the continuous improvement of this competency management systems. And basically, I like this last requirement saying that you need to take care that people working in cybersecurity, they're responsible for this development, or also the right people assigned with this in this role. And also the UN regulation is talking about cybersecurity, culture awareness, and so competence management. So this would be a crucial point also from a regulation and standards point of view.
Okay, then let's talk about impacts.
Sure.
Because I think it's important to understand that it's not only about coding and about technical stuff, but the impacts of the current challenges are a little bit wider and influences more than you think, probably. So.
Yeah, sure. Because everyone is thinking about developing some cryptography, developing some algorithms, encrypting and decrypting messages, but that's not the only thing. So of course you have a big impact on organization, the projects and the roles and functions. And I would say let's dig deeper a little bit on the organizational part. So if we think about the organization as a whole, we have the whole product life cycle. And so cybersecurity starts with research and development. So during the development of the product, so with cybersecurity engineering and management, but also in the production. So we also need to take care about the production lines, the factories, and how things are produced in the process. Then, of course, logistics and sales. So we need to also bring this car somewhere else, and people working out in automotive, they know there are different modes you can put the car. So from the engineering developing mode to the production mode to the sales and the transport mode. So there are different modes with different kind of also rights and access capabilities. So you need to take care also there about your hackers, because otherwise the car could be hacked before ending up at the dealership or in the hands of the customer. And then, of course, you have operational maintenance. So after the dealership, after the car is sold, while the car is operated and maintained in the dealership, so it's quite a big challenge. And not to forget the last part, the decommissioning, so the end of the life cycle of the car. So if you have, for example, some private information stored on the car, you need to erase this information before you decommission the car. So if you think about organizations, there's a huge impact on a lot of different departments that need to take care about cybersecurity. It's not only the engineers putting some algorithms in the software. And then if we talk about projects, yeah, of course, there's a huge impact in the project itself. So that if you think about the whole project life cycle, so it impacts the initiation of the project, the whole planning and setup of the projects. Then, of course, the executional part where we perform, let's say, the whole project work and the deliverables and the work performance. And then the whole monitoring and controlling, where you track and review your reports and the progress of the project up until closing, sanitation of the project itself. Yeah, and last but not least, there's also one point in organization, and that's the culture.
Yeah, and this is also interesting to see that their standards and regulation also focus on the culture itself. So opening, different also internal organizational topic, where it comes to 3 different points most of the time, we would say. So about knowledge acquisition as well. So what do the people know? How can they really focus on the new topics? So you need to learn new things as well. But then also on the topic behavior. So can they really focus on what they just learned? Can they really change their behavior? Can they adapt new cybersecurity standards? How do they change their processes? And then also regarding attitude, is it really by how do they feel when they change things? How do they act, and do they really understand the risks of cybersecurity and have a focus on it? So I think it's about the know and the act and the feel in the culture. So it needs also a cultural change most of the time. And this is an important point that cannot be forgotten.
Yeah, sure. And that's actually why this making cybersecurity an integral part of of the company and the employees' work and habit, and it shouldn't just be that we just push some policies and standards, but it should be, let's say, culture, integral part of the work of every employee.
Yeah, it must be lived by everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and then last but not least, I think the whole value chain needs to be rethought. So one side from the organizational level, where we need to establish new policies, new processes, new departments, hire the right people, down to the project level, where we need to adapt the processes, the development processes, down to engineers that actually are implementing, let's say, these algorithms. And on the right side of the slide, let's say, it's not only in the company, the value chain, but also the whole value chain means as a supply chain from the OEM to the tier 1, tier 2, and tier X supplier. So they're different, let's say, part in the supply chain. Everyone needs to play their role, because of course, if a library supplier is supplying the wrong code to a tier 2 supplier and he's selling the chips with the wrong libraries in it to the tier 1 supplier, the integrator, then the OEM ends up with a car with a buggy software. And so the weakest link in the whole chain is affecting security. So that's something that really needs to be rethought. Yeah. So finally,
how can we increase cybersecurity competences in the organization for specific roles and prove the achieved competences level? This is the key question. That's also why we wanted to point it out here, that big, and this is the challenge, but also like maybe the solution that we found, or that we want to work on together, maybe also with you if you're interested. And let's have a look at what we so far developed.
Yeah, that's why to answer this, let's say, this question of increased competency for specific roles and to prove this achieved level, we said, okay, let's come up with a kind of framework. So not only a training, but let's create a framework where we have a training based on a competency model. So we start with a competency model with the roles, different roles in the organization, to understand what people need to know and for people in which roles they are, and then based on that build the educational path, so the training, and of course also required by the regulations and the standards, we need to have a proof of this achieved competency, and that's the third pillar in this let's say ACP framework. So from competency model to education, to the training, to the final proof and certification that you achieve those competences. That's the whole idea of the ACP framework.
Okay.
And so, I would say let's start with the first pillar, with the competencies. We want to add something.
So there are different important fields that we were focusing on, because we thought, okay, how can we divide these topics? So we found 4 main fields. First of all, the personal competencies, so the ability to reflect your own actions and also the values that you have, and the just personal ideas that you bring in. Then the performance competences, so the know-how itself and the skills, and how you can you can perform also that, and how can you train to be better, for example. Then the technical and methodological competencies, so problem solving and acquire technical know-how and specific methods you need, because they change, and there will always be a change in these technical stuff, so it always needs to be trained again. And then social interaction competences, because it's always a team, it's always other parties that are involved and different units that need to cooperate. So these 4 main topics are, I think, the most important ones, and we divided these main pillars into our system.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. And then, of course, on one side is the different fields of the competency that we want to touch. On the other side is the huge variety of roles and functions in an organization that we need to cover. And the third thing is, of course, that this ACP framework should be on different levels. So from foundation level, advanced to expert, so they have a different deepness in the levels that you need to achieve, because not everyone needs to be an expert. A lot of people, they need to have a basic knowledge about cybersecurity to be able to raise the hand if they see something or they feel that something is wrong. And then we have more expert levels where people need to really understand what they need to implement. So that's the important thing, have these three pillars on these three different, let's say, deepness levels. So with these three different levels, of course, if you combine this together, we have the organizational roles and functions. And we can then map and have a training path depending on your role and depending on the competence model. Yeah, so before we talk about intensities on the next slide, I would like to show you a little video about VLTs and how we do this training in a virtual live setup.
Okay, exciting, interesting.
Yeah, very exciting. So this was just to show how you can also remote and online perform such a kind of training. And yeah, but I would say let's dive deeper into the competencies part 2, so different competencies and chapters about the training.
Okay, so there are also different intensities regarding the different trainings. So targeted oriented topics with a different value or different also time that is needed for specific topics. So here's an example, the difference between the more management oriented versus the more engineering oriented training. As you can see, some topics are the same, like the awareness itself is definitely important for both parties. But for example, like the cybersecurity management is important for more the managers than for the engineers. But for them, it's super important to understand, okay, how can I implement all the new cybersecurity topics and how can I control these things? And so you can see that we adapted the focus depending on the target group here per level.
Yeah, so it's basically a training adapted to the competency model. So based on the roles, based on what they need to know, the training was adapted to it. Yeah, I would say, so we've seen the competency model, we've seen the trainings and the content of the training and how it's done. And let's talk about the last pillar, and this evidence of competence for the cybersecurity. So on one side, if you attend the training, you get this proof of attendance that you attend the training, and in cooperation with TÜV Rheinland, we created, let's say, a certificate of competence for this ACP framework. So if you basically been in a virtual live training or in a classroom training on our learning platform, and then you're eligible to participate to the examination with TÜV Rheinland, and you get this certificate for the achieved, let's say, competency. And so there are different, for different levels, there are different exams and different certification for it. Then, of course, we also want to just say let's say, make it sound more around. We have this framework study package, so you can or you will get with the trainings also this essential guide to 2 and 4 so we created this book with a little bit all the different chapters of the training and the needed competences in mind. So there are the same 9 chapters. There's a lot of information in it, and then of course if you work with the exercises during the training, you can also use the pocket guide, which is also sent by you when you take part of the trainings.
Okay, but the book itself, for example, you could also acquire regardless of the training.
Yeah.
So this is like maybe also kind of the general information deck where you can find everything when it comes to cybersecurity in automotive.
Yeah, sure. So we basically summed up everything we knew in cybersecurity, automotive cybersecurity, on 500 pages, and so you can find a lot of information in it. Yeah, and I would say, last but not least, a very important thing, and why we are talking here in this ASRG context, is the partnership initiative. So basically what our idea is to give this model for free, and so that you can use it in your own company. And what we are let's say asking you guys is to participate in this framework and to further develop the competency model, develop the trainings, and so to have some iterations on the things that we have done so far, and to put all those things further in practice. And the more companies are joining in establishing this framework, the more everyone can benefit from, let's say, this work.
Yeah, so we want to make a basis here and to start something here, maybe also with you. But yeah, it's still under construction, so it's still a long way where we can develop interesting further topics and make a strong network in the automotive industry and the cybersecurity industry, and make a lead model here where this can be a big change, and where
and an established, so an industry-wide established, let's say, certification program and training program. That's the thing that we have already a bunch of partners working with us on that, and we would be happy that you also join this program.
Yeah, and maybe we talk a little bit about the membership benefits in the next point as well. So being a member means that we can actively discuss something, and that we find new ways, can develop together something big, and be maybe a little faster than others with developing something, because we already have a big basis and important points established so far.
Yeah, and you can reuse the model and reuse the whole framework and apply this to your company. And that's I would say one of the most important points. We want to further develop the model, want to further develop the trainings, and so we have also these 3 different levels. And we, for example, created for the first level And the second level, the training, we are now working on the expert level trainings, but there are 4 more deep dives that we can create, and that's where you guys come into the picture, and maybe creating some trainings and offering we have some deep dive trainings on it. Yeah, I would say that's.
Yeah. So maybe you have questions, and you're looking maybe forward also to join here this initiative. So it would be very great, and we would be very happy to hear from you soon.
Yeah, and that's, I would say, then we can start the Q&A session. And if you have some questions, feel free to ask them now.
Thank you.